Founder fans, Jason here, and today's founder is Benjamin Harrison the fifth. Thank you for joining us. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and let's talk a little bit about Benjamin Harrison, a signer of the Declaration of Independence, not to be confused with the President of the United States, though we'll get to why those names are exactly the same in a minute. Benjamin Harrison V was from Virginia, and as a young man, he inherited his father's plantation, which did include a lot of slaves. It was one of the largest slave-owning plantations in Virginia. And Harrison, well, he looked around and saw his father pass away because his father, believe it or not, was struck by lightning. Now, this is very sad and very unlikely, but it did happen. Benjamin Harrison's father was struck by lightning, and Benjamin inherits this plantation. Now, as a wealthy Virginian would want to do, well, he jumps in and he becomes a member of the House of Burgesses, which was Virginia's colonial assembly. Now, as early as 1770, Benjamin Harrison was trying to push bills through the House of Burgesses to reprimand the king and parliament for some of the naughty things they were doing to the colonists as the colonists saw it. Now, this doesn't mean that Harrison was already looking towards independence. He certainly wasn't, but he was radical enough to be sent to the First Continental Congress, and he was there, and although he was cautious at first, he does end up signing the Continental Association and the Declarations of Rights and Grievances, which were the result of the First Continental Congress and ended up beginning the boycott. That was a major stimulus for the Revolutionary War just 6 months later. Speaking of 6 months later, Benjamin Harris did go back to the Second Continental Congress, and he was there for a good amount of time. In fact, he was such a respected member of Congress, he ended up being chosen as the chairman of the Committee of the Whole. Now, the Committee of the Whole is we've spoken about it before, it's a parliamentary procedure where most bodies of Congresses and things of that nature will have committees that get things done. And the Committee of the Whole is a committee made up of every single member of Congress. Now, while this sounds like overkill, it is something they would also use under Nathaniel Gorham during the Constitutional Convention. And the point is that you could have an open and free debate and discussion without being tied to anything you might say. Therefore, when the Committee of the Whole makes a recommendation to the Congress, which is, again, all the same people, Congress will only consider what is said from there on out as official, as opposed to just a meeting of a committee, which is generally done on the side and not considered nearly as important, and certainly not considered final. So the reason this is exciting for Benjamin Harrison V is because he was chairman of the Committee of the Whole when that committee was debating whether or not the colonies united should declare independence from Great Britain. So while we know that John Hancock was president of the Continental Congress at that time, John Hancock would have stepped down, become a regular delegate to the Congress, acting as part of a committee. The Committee of the Whole, chaired by Benjamin Harrison V. And I'll bring up his pictures, not a lot of good pictures of him, but Benjamin Harrison was chairman, and he oversaw and controlled the debate on declaring independence. And it was a tough 2 days when debating whether or not that should be discussed. And of course, they did decide to declare independence. And Harrison would go on to sign the Declaration of Independence. Now, interestingly, when the Committee of the Whole decided to declare independence, well, they had to, Benjamin Harrison had to step down from the chair, and they had to re-adjourn as the Continental Congress, and Hancock stepped back up into the chair, and then it was Benjamin Harrison's duty as chairman of the Committee of the Whole to present the committee's determination to President of Congress, John Hancock. Of course, John Hancock, as I said, was a member of the Committee of the Whole and was there the whole time, but because the Continental Congressmen, even people in the government today, are so tied to, but especially back then, were so tied to routine and stuck to the books. This is how we're supposed to do it. That even though Hancock was there and everyone knew what was going on, Benjamin Harrison still had to formally present to him the decision of the Committee of the Whole to declare independence, which was promptly voted on and approved. Now, Benjamin Harrison would hang around for a little bit and then go back to Virginia, where he would take over for Thomas Jefferson as governor of Virginia. And in his time as governor of Virginia, he actually did a very good job. People approved of it, but he ran into a lot of issues. You know, Britain was the British were invading Virginia at the time. Now he did not have a lot of money because again it was a wartime economy and the money was dedicated to the war. He was given a lot of pressure to head west and attack certain Native American nations that were being hostile on the frontier to the American cause. However, Harrison seemingly wisely stuck to a defensive war. He didn't go act aggressively against the Native Americans because he was nervous that the British might send more ships. Notably, Benedict Arnold was now on the British team and was trying to invade Virginia. And this, there was some hostility towards his actions at the time, but in hindsight, he did a fairly good job given what he had. Now, he ends up becoming an anti-federalist. He's very friendly with George Mason. When George Mason comes back from the Constitutional Convention saying, I didn't sign that thing, no way, bad idea. He agreed, much with him and Richard Henry Lee and other American founders, to argue against the United States Constitution. Of course, despite the fact that he went to the Virginia Ratification Convention and voted against the United States as we know it today, it still went through. And he ends up going back and spending his last few years, because he was one of the senior members of the American founding. He passed away in 1791, and he spent his last few years as a member of Virginia's Virginia's state assembly, no longer called the House of Burgesses, but essentially the same body. Now, I do want to note, as I said at the beginning, Benjamin Harrison is a name we know, not just because he signed the Declaration of Independence, but because he had some children. One of his children, William Henry Harrison, was a president of the United States of America. He dies when his son is only 18 years old and doesn't see the rise of William Henry Harrison. And we spoke about Harrison not long ago. He was extraordinarily important to the development of the Northwest Territory and in the War of 1812, which is why he ends up becoming a president of the United States. He was Tippecanoe, who went with Tyler too. Now, interestingly enough, his grandson, so Benjamin Harrison V, who we're talking about today, his great-grandson was also a president of the United States. And I can't figure out why, but he's Benjamin Harrison V, and his grandson is just Benjamin Harrison. Don't know what happened to 6th and 7th, but they just went back to Benjamin Harrison. And Benjamin Harrison, of course, is the president who had Grover Cleveland both before and after. So that's a little bit of his ancestry. He is Benjamin Harrison V, signer of the Declaration of Independence and governor of Virginia, is actually best known for having two descendants who were presidents of the United States, the only grandfather-grandson duo to be president of the United States. He also had, there was one in the middle there, Benjamin Harrison, the president's father. So his grandson was one of the last people to be body snatched after he passed away. I think we spoke about this not too long ago. He was one of the last people to be body snatched, which was upset a lot of people nationwide. And that's why body snatching came to a pretty quick halt. But that's a general overview of Benjamin Harrison. I want to give a big shout out to John Adams hanging out there, and TJ, thank you. Good evening. Thank you guys for coming so much. To answer your question, John Adams, I usually watch Vsauce 3, the one about the games. I really enjoy that one. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, Misfit's here. I'm Misfit. I hope you didn't just pop in because we're about to go, but I'm always here. I have heard from a few of you recently that YouTube does not necessarily tell you that I'm coming on live as it should. So just so you know, at this point, I go live at 8:15 Eastern Standard Time every night of the week. So even if YouTube doesn't give you the shout out, if you got some time available about this hour, give me 5-10 minutes of your time because I know you enjoy hanging out with me like I enjoy hanging out with you. Thank you so much. If you're new here, then definitely hit like and subscribe. As I said, I come out with videos 5 days a week, 8:15 Eastern Standard Time. But as I also said, and I'll bring myself back up here to say goodbye, as I also said, for whatever reason, even if you're hitting the notification bell, YouTube doesn't seem to be giving out these recommendations. So sorry about that. Nothing I can do. I can say thank you for coming. I can again say happy St. Patrick's Day. Top of the evening to you, bottom of the morning. How do I say it at night? What do you say at night? Someone tell me in the comments what you say at night. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow with Dr. Jane Calvert to wrap up our ongoing discussion about John Dickinson, and we're going to talk a lot about his later life and role in creating the United States Constitution. So I look forward to that. I hope you do too, and I will be back with you tomorrow.